So this is where the magic happens. This is where things get made tasty.
Yes.
And this is really cool, actually. Like being in the, when I first saw one of these places, there's a smell. I wish this was a scratch and sniff video because it smells like every flavor system just all at once hits you.
It smells like money in here.
Yeah, it does.
No, this is obviously where we do a lot of our compounding. We do our application work. And Tim's here with us, who actually does a lot of our formulation. So what we're going to do is basically Mark and I are the customer. Mm-hmm. We have a concept of the bro's best pre-workout.
Yeah, this is going to be the bro workout.
And we're going to actually take this here in a few minutes before we do legs.
Yeah.
So we're going to make it and take it. But
just don't put too much hoopers in.
Tim's going to advise us on what he thinks of our formula, pros, cons, and help us, educate us to get something that actually could go on the line, be produced, and be viable. So, all right, so obviously the pre-workout, we need some pump, right?
Yeah, you need some citrulline to be nice.
I mean, why not like 12 grams?
Yeah, 12 grams, you could do that. And actually, it is efficacious at 12 grams, but then you have no extra cost. You gotta have diminishing return.
What do you mean? You need to make money in this?
Yeah, right.
Shit. Okay,
you got 12 grams of citrulline, but no flavor system.
No, I think
or anything else.
What you see in the market is, I mean, highly dosed 4 to 6. I prefer using right now. There's citrulline malate, which historically has been bonded.
Oh,
I'm not so trustworthy on that, so I would rather use straight citrulline, and we'll get some malic acid from our flavor system.
Yeah, so here's now this is a good time to go into that. I know this is totally off topic for this video, but I've done videos on this. The citrulline malate you see on the market is not the one you see in the studies. Yeah. The studies use bonded citrulline malate. I've tried to source it. I've tried to. Okay. The prices, you'd have an $800 pre-workout.
Yeah,
so the citrulline malate on the market is not bonded. It's essentially taking a weak Krebs cycle intermediate, malic acid, really cheap, combining it with beautiful citrulline. So all the results are coming from the citrulline. So my thought is, you know what? Like Brent, give me the straight out citrulline.
Yeah, let's do the straight citrulline. It's more cost efficient. It's more pure. And then, I mean, you are still going to get some malic acid because that's something we use in almost all our flavors.
And then you also have that control on your flavor system. Also, you don't have 4 grams of malic acid.
Right, too much malic acid is going to give you GI issues too at some level. So back in the day, people used like 2 grams of citrulline. The bar is higher now. We want to use 5 to 6.
Yeah.
So that if we did 8 grams of a 1-to-1, that's 4 grams of malic. Ain't gonna say well.
I would rather go with a nice straight citrulline.
Yeah.
And malic acid, it's again Krebs cycle. Okay, cool. Just toss that in the flavor system. We're good to go.
So yeah, we'll go with that. What do you think here, Tim? We can do 5 grams?
Yeah, I mean 5's always a good dose. You usually never go lower than 4, so 4 to 6 typically.
Then I mean we're still kind of in the pump category or the nitric oxide category. Glycerol.
We need something for the water in the muscle. So what happens is nitric oxide, think vasodilation or hemodilation, which is actually a marketing term, but basically that's blood. So what a glycerol type product does, it brings water into the muscle cells. It brings fluid into the cells. So you're working on 2 angles on the pump. I really like it. Now, you have a high percentage glycerol in here?
We have one that's close to a 70, right?
Yeah, actually a new one, 70.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, typically, here's the thing is I would want to use you can use it up to a high level. Mm-hmm. And if you were taking caps or tabs of glycerol, I mean, you could take 10 grams. It's going to be hard on your stomach, but here in a powder, Tim, you got to go over this. There's a certain threshold to where we feel comfortable that the product will stay stable.
You can do pretty high of just glycerol in a powder, but then starting to have this flavor system, that malic acid. That malic acid in the blender is going to interact with that glycerol and essentially form almost a bouncy ball. But, I mean, if you want to have longevity and stability in your product to meet your shelf life, which requires stability, too much glycerol, too much acid, your products will break.
Everyone's heard the phrase,
no clump, no pump.
No clump, no pump. To some degree. We don't mind little pebbles. We don't want a 30 serving of a rock.
Yeah, so you're going to have little pebbles and things like any pre-workout with Hydromax, a lot of citrulline products, even stuff with GABA in it. GABA will do that at night for nighttime formulas. So I would say, I mean, what do you think? Like 70%, I don't think, is that 2 grams? Like, what do you think?
2 to 3 is where I'd like to sit.
Of a 70?
Yeah, it's one of those things. 2 to 3 is good, and then you kind of look at the other inclusions in the formula, how those fit in there, and then kind of circle back on that to make sure that dose makes sense for the stability.
Sounds good. I think 2's fine.
Let's go with it. And there's a list of different pump ingredients we can go into. We're gonna make this kind of simplistic today. I mean, you can look at different extracts, some that are trademarked, some that aren't, from a Vaso 6 to a Vaso Drive. You have the nitrates. So there's a lot at your arsenal of what you want to do. But a lot of it has to be proven together from a stability standpoint. So one thing before we would run off on this product, we put it in chambers to look at how it's doing over 6 months and 1 year, just to validate the combination of all these ingredients.
Stability testing.
Yeah, but I think from the citrulline and glycerol, I'm good right now. I don't know if you want to add anything to it on the pump side of it.
I mean, if you want to really be redundant and really hit it, you can put an atrosogene or something in there, but we hit it pretty good with the citrulline. I think that's a good start.
So nitrosogene, you get diminishing returns with that high dose of the citrulline, so they go through the same mechanism. So you're going to throw a cost in there, you might as well go through
go one or the other, basically.
Go one or the other, and then use that cost on a different route.
So I think the other thing that then we're going to get into is we're going to put this in our pre-workout today because we're selfish and it's for today.
Yeah.
I want to get my dose of creatine. It is totally a consumer marketing play on whether creatine is right or wrong. Creatine is a great ingredient. Marc's done a bunch of videos on that you can test to. I love it. Everyone should take it. But what we don't want to do sometimes is, particularly even women or some people who are trying to lose weight, think that in their mind that it water bloats them. We won't go into that topic. But by putting it in the pre-workout, sometimes then your demographic becomes smaller. So I would always put it as a side product and have it in junction, right? Whether it's a capsule or powder like you have separate. On this one, we're going to add 5 grams. And honestly, I just like creatine mono.
Yep, straight mono. I'm not going to argue that one. And you can, there are very quality sources. Creapure, the reason for Creapure is you're getting a quality creatine.
Made in Germany. They invented the patents and did all the studies themselves. So you know that it's obviously been validated by them. And the nice part with this trademark is the premium's not insane. Sometimes you're talking 3x, 4x. When you look at creatine mono from China versus Allschem, which is out of Germany, there's a little bit of a premium, but it's doable.
It's not a huge difference. And next I'd like to look at something for power output and things like that. I like betaine. I like good old...
We're doing legs and on men's physique, so why is there any power output there? We really could skip over that. But anyway.
Trimethylglycine, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. I always
He's a fan. You're a big fan.
I'm a huge fan of it. You could take that anywhere from 500 milligrams to 1.5 grams without any GI issues.
No, it's super well tolerated. I mean,
it's a typically inexpensive ingredient.
Very cheap.
Yeah.
And it has like long-term health on cardiovascular health.
Huge.
That's one of those ingredients that most people only know the surface of it, but there's just so much health benefits from it. I throw it in like everything because it is so cheap, but there's just those.
It's kind of been a key. We put it in a lot of
everything.
In pre's and even like pumps. I think it's a great ingredient.
Love it. I go 1.5 grams at least.
Yeah, it's a good dose.
Very good dose.
And we're doing anhydrous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up.
I think that's a great power one for power endurance.
Yeah, even if you're men's physique, it helps you hold this pose.
It makes me do this.
What is that, bro? I mean, why do you do that?
I don't. We're stirring though. I think this is an ingredient that I would love to do. I think we're gonna have some like just shop talk eventually too in the channel, so we won't go into it too much. But beta alanine, if done right, if dosed right, great ingredient. I have my different take on whether it should be in your pre or not pre, depending on the dosage and who it's for. We're gonna throw it in this one.
I like it.
I like 3.2 because if I take it twice a day, I'm hitting the threshold of 6.4, which on a loading phase gets you to where you need to be.
I did the same. I put everything at 3.2, at least 3. That's just enough where most people won't get severe paresthesis, which is the tingles. And even if you do get paresthesis, which is tingling of the skin, don't freak. It normally subsides in 2 to 3 weeks.
Actually, Courtney over there, how do you do with paresthesia?
It's terrible. If I take one little taster cup, it's
My wife's the same way.
all over.
Yeah, it's funny. And the one time Brent tried to kill her.
Oh, you mean the
sustained release?
The not sustained release, sustained release.
I'm like, no, take 3 grams, you'll be fine. She was like Dave Chappelle, scratching her.
If you're watching this, Chuck O'Neal, this is calling you out. This is sustained release. This isn't. Here you ago.
Even I got the tingles, and I've been taking beta. It was good quality beta-alanine. And the thing about beta-alanine, like creatine, it's not, don't take it for the acute benefits, take it for the long-term benefits. Beta-alanine has been misnomer because it has, creatine you don't feel it. I don't take creatine like, bro, I just took creatine unless I have great placebo. Beta-alanine is one of those ingredients where you feel it. You get a response from it. However, it is not a stimulant. It's a product that builds up in your system. That's why you want to take it every day. And that's why pre-workout, it's going to get in your system at 3.2 grams. But the daily dose I like to see is around 6 to 12.
100%. And I think it has a lot of benefits. And it's kind of been misconceived. It's obviously, really, if you look at one of the number one, or not the number one pre-workout ingredient, more off a misconception, but there's a whole nother side to it that it could go in other formats than just pre's, but like Marc said, it's kind of been known as like a stimulant because people feel it, even though it's not.
And the reason I always, in my pre-workout, and my favorite, the one I make, from my brand, I have a non-creatine, creatine, is it forces me to take my dose. Because I'm busy, we all have jobs, we're running companies, running large, $100 million companies and something, you know what I mean? So it's like, we don't have time to sit there and, you know, just play around with it. Like, I want to make sure I get creatine, beta-alanine. I know I'm going to train. Let's put it in there. 3.2 grams.
Let's get her done.
Good to go. I think from that, I think it's time some neural.
And here's, and Tim, this is where Tim's expertise is really done. And I can say we've spent years on perfecting this, but from a mood enhancement, cognitive, with the stims, he's done a great job. I'd love to hear your take on, like, we want that takeoff. We don't want the crash because so many of these 400 crazy caffeine, synthetic caffeine, you get that rush and then you have that fall off, right? We want you to feel good, have a mood enhancement, be cognitively alert, and get the pick-me-up. So you want to talk about what you would recommend?
I want to interject real quick. This is a great example we talked about in episode 1. In that Brent and I, we're like, dude, we know we want creatine, we don't want beta, we don't want betaine, but maybe we're not experts at neural focus and energy. Boom.
Insert Tim.
Insert your good co-man right over here.
About 10 years of formulating at this point, so for that, usually like caffeine anhydrous, you take that.
2 grams, got it?
Yeah, just a spoonful actually.
Yeah.
No, it's just if you take that just by itself, it comes up, you come up quick, but it's just caffeine there, and it just falls off quick because it's the only thing getting metabolized. We use stuff like guarana extract, yerba mate, green coffee bean, that has just all these other bioactives and caffeine-like compounds, but other polyphenols. That creates just like this nice entourage synergistic effect. But usually you go with one of those, and then you got to smooth out the stem profile, whether that's like a theanine, some adaptogen. I mean, even a little bit of magnesium just to kind of drop the vascular tone.
But not too much magnesium.
No, you don't want to shit your pants.
Or else that's, so there was Super Pump back in the day. They added in, I think it was 2 grams Miller put in there, and it was effective, but if you were constipated, basically think of milk and magnesia.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he made. Stimulants plus too much magnesium. So again, you can't just hyperdose everything that has positive research.
And that's the thing, like you can look at magnesium oxide versus citrate versus glycinate. Those all have different absorptions and different amount of a laxative effect, actually. Some people want that laxative effect in their product.
Have you played with any VitaSure or long-acting caffeine, more sustained release?
Yeah, they work. It's just depends how long you want the caffeine. That's good for like a morning product.
Yeah,
it work really well, but kind of like a PM pre-workout, it might be in your system at 1 in the morning. So
yeah, so I think what you were going with.
So how would you want to go on this? Like caffeine level, what are you thinking?
I'll defer to you.
I mean, it depends how. Leg workout, usually go a little bit higher. I'd say maybe 250, but you can even mellow it out with a little bit of theanine in there. So
perfect.
With 250 from
natural sources too.
Natural sources.
So what kind of theanine dose you want to offset that with?
See, that's a tricky one too. You see
it
that
is.
all over.
That's why I asked it.
That's a good formulator knows how that theanine ratio is really important. If you want like that super clean energy, like sitting at your computer doing emails, like you maybe want like 1:1 to 2:1 theanine to caffeine.
Exactly.
If you're about to go like sit and almost die squatting, you might want to drop it a little bit because that little edginess and
so hence this today.
Exactly.
So maybe just like touch up like 75, 100.
So I was gonna say 100.
Yeah,
I like that.
Right, you give it like a touch. You
That's
don't want to
perfect,
mellow it out too much because you want them to be high energy and getting after the bar.
So this is that next level formulation that you have to look at, where you can't just dose things and you can't just throw all your favorite stuff in.
Throw in the kitchen sink.
Kitchen sinks don't, they work, but there's a lot of redundancies. A lot of redundancies.
They all interact too. People read stuff about individual ingredients, and then they put this in this giant blend. My favorite examples, you read about caffeine and what 500 milligrams will do, and then you read about what 40 ounce of alcohol will do. Well, what happens when you make a Four Loko? It's a completely different product.
That's some Tennessee shit right there.
Right. It's a good analogy though. I mean, unique effects.
The Red Bull thing. Yeah, got it. So speaking of Red Bull, what do you feel about, when you talk about this amino spiking, I like a little bit of taurine. I actually like its effects.
Oh,
I don't mind taurine.
It's like you guys have known each other before.
Oh man.
Taurine. Are we related?
Yeah, no, taurine and glycine, great ingredients. Just not when they're trying to get your nitrogen content up for protein content.
Taurine, you could go really high, but not too high. We have gas. Again, and a lot of ingredients that work, for some reason, you take too much, it causes you to poop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the most prevalent organic acid in muscle cells and neurons. It helps with signaling.
So I mean,
if you're low in taurine, you will start to get crampy and your muscles will not perform.
2 grams would even be a good dose here.
2 grams is
I
fine.
don't mind 2 grams, and that's a really inexpensive ingredient.
That's
Tremendous addition.
Yeah.
So that's that. Now, I heard you say something about nootropics. Now, a lot of things I like. 2 of my favorites of all time, I've been using these since the early 2000s, rhodiola and bacopa. Love those. But what do you like? What kind of nootropics do you throw in here?
I usually do something a little bit more fast acting. Rhodiola, it's
right.
great nootropic.
Bingo.
But it has to be digested by your gut bacteria, so there's it's like a postbiotic, and that can take up to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So that might be too late in your workout to really get that full effect. I like ashwagandha a lot. It tends to hit really quick. I like KSM probably the most.
Look, you just getting Trevor's in here, man. We're making pre-workouts, man. He's here to train legs. You can tell by the way his jeans are hugging.
Because they're so big.
Yeah, those are beyond baggies. Those are like parachute pants. So what would you suggest?
I mean, you have to have something that pairs well with the theanine, right? Because now that's in there. You don't want to mess that up. Some things do not work with the theanine. So I don't know. Maybe like a little bit of Panax ginseng. A lot of people don't use it. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Panax ginseng's great. I love that. That's a great addition. Now we're getting to the room. We have a lot of ingredients. Do we need anything more? We have everything covered.
I think we're covering categories here. This is where I think sometimes could we keep adding?
We could.
For sure.
Yeah.
We can make a $400 pre-workout.
Yeah, from a cost standpoint and the fill size, I mean, we're probably getting close to 16, 17 grams here.
Yeah, and then at certain points here, there's diminished returns. Cool, it checks every single box, but your stomach hurts, so you're not going to work out that hard.
Yeah.
You always got to take that.
But hey, here's the beauty of it is, it's called beta testing, right? So we take this, we make this today, we give our feedback. Part 2, we can give some feedback, maybe it didn't hit enough, we need some more caffeine.
And then it'll be my first project with our mom.
Yeah, exactly. This is the project.
We're setting you guys up. That is not the intention of this.
And I got to circle back though. We said stability, full formula.
True.
Right.
Yeah, so you have the betaine anhydrous, so the synthetic form, which is most likely used, that actually is not good with glycerol because it's higher moisture content. You can use the beta powder, which is natural, better stability. So that's something I recommend in the back end. You're like, hey, do you mind making the switch? It's about 3 times as much, but that's going to save you money if your product's not pumping.
Right.
You have less returns.
Right.
Those are things you have to measure. So it's not as simple as how many bros come to me or you a day and I want to make my own pre-workout. You're like, and I just I'm really a jerk now. I'm like, I'm not going to help my future competition. You're on your own, bro. I used to be like,
Call Trevor.
Yeah, I'm like, call Trevor. He'll help you. But no, I think that's a great start. And I think you're right about the beta power. You're right. That would be a clumping issue. Now, to offset clumping, do we add some silica to this? I know this is beyond this beta test, but for final flavor, you got it through, even though it's pretty inert.
Yeah.
You have those anti-cake ingredients.
Yeah, and we put those right up front too while we're making the base. I mean, very rare any pre-workout base is going to make it just the actives without some kind of stabilizers. But we put them in before we flavor because those impact the taste profile.
Yeah.
Calcium.
And also a lot of them help in the flow properties too, of how they're going to run the line as well.
Yeah.
You have to. I ran, my first product ever was NeuroStim, and we couldn't fill individual packets because it was so hygroscopic. And it was being made in a sample facility. Maybe didn't have the humidifier controls that they needed at the time. And so they literally had to keep going through auger after auger after auger to fill these damn things. So those are things that, again, if you're thinking about starting a manufacturing facility, there's a lot to it. We haven't even got, that's a 4-hour video on actually quality controlling a manufacturer. And that's the reason why, for me, I'm better off working with someone like Brent, who knows all of that, you guys know what you're doing, you know how to run a facility. I know ingredients, we can spit ingredients all day, and I know sales and marketing, but I don't know how to get those people to get, I don't know, I could, and then the cost, oh my goodness, the equipment, and having your own testing facility, like that's what y'all do. So again, like we said before, there's a huge, tremendous advantage to co-mans. There used to be a rumor, and then we'll get to making this. There used to be a rumor that all the proteins, this is back in the 90s, were made at the same facility. And that might have been true. However, that doesn't mean they're the same protein.
Right.
It just means like a Coca-Cola facility. They have licensing, they have bottling plants all over the country. They're not even owned by Coca-Cola. All these guys do is blend the ingredients. That's all they do and bottle it. So think about it that way. But I think we should make this and try it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.